Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast, where we explore your hidden thoughts and desires, revealing your greatest drop the mic moments. Now, here's your host, Art Costello.
Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast. Today, I am honored to have Lorraine Hoving as a guest. Lorraine is a speaker, radio show host, and a lover of life. She has an incredible journey that she's gone, and we're going to talk about it. And I just love her grit. Lorraine's got a lot of grit, and she knows how to handle stuff. So we'll just get into her story, let her tell her story, and we'll move through it and talk about some of the things she's going on in her life right now that have been challenges, because I know a lot of my listeners are sudden challenges, and she's going to tell us how she's dealing with one. Anyway, welcome, Lorraine. I love having you.
You know what? Thank you, Art. I am so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Well, as before, I've done your show and we had a great time. And I think we're going to do that again and help a lot of people with a lot of different issues that they struggle with in their lives.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is about. So,
right.
Tell us your story. Tell us what Lorraine has gone through. Even go back as far as a little girl, where you grew up and how you became Lorraine Hoving.
All right. Well, I am so excited to be here, as I've said. Let me tell you a little bit about where I grew up. I grew up in northern British Columbia, so I am a Canadian. I grew up in a family where we had 7 children. Well, my mom had 7 children. So at one time, and not all at one time. What happened is when I was 5 years old, I had a little brother and he was a year old. And I didn't realize that he was actually suffering from heart issue. And they were waiting until he was exactly a year to send him to a Vancouver hospital, because we grew up very remotely up in near Prince Rupert. And so anyways, I didn't realize he had a heart defect. And so I loved to wake up in the morning. And like I said, I was 5 years old and he was about a year when this happened. But I'd get up and I'd play with him in the morning. I adored him. He was in his little crib. And anyways, just before his first birthday, I went into his crib to play with him like I did every single day, and he was gone. And I was told as a little 5-year-old that he would never come back again. And I never learned till probably 10 or 15 years later what exactly had happened to him. And it was a heart defect, and they had to wait till he was a certain weight. So anyways, that was my first experience with a death that was rather quick and overnight. Happy child. My mom said I was born from the womb laughing. And I've always had a very positive, fun-loving attitude towards life. And so as a child, I had such great times. And then I was very, very close to my dad. And my dad and I, this is how I can explain it, is we kind of spoke the same language. I woke up, hardly wait to see my dad, and I went to bed thinking of my dad and eating. Every night we had a routine where we ate ice cream before we went to bed. So when I turned 12, I remember this vividly. My relationship with dad was just wonderful. My mom was busy with all the children. So warm, loving, kind. And my world was wrapped around him. So I think it was just the latter part of when I was 11 years old, the door rang, and I loved to have company. So I just ran, booted to the door, and I opened the door and saw a priest and a police officer. And I knew my life would change forever, because instantly you know that your dad is never coming back again. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I began to pull in that happy little girl. My little girl began to disappear, is how I explain it. And I had an older brother that had perhaps, I'm not sure now because he has passed on also, was jealous of the relationship. So he began to think it was his duty to tease me And he used to call me Fatty 2x4. And perhaps at this time I was maybe 10 pounds overweight. Every cookie I ate, every crumb, everything I put in my mouth, he would tease, and he would tease about anything. That was just his nature. And now I look back at it, he was really verbally abusive, but he didn't know better at that time either. So anyways, what started to happen is the little girl, the happy little girl, began to think that she needed to hide. And so I began to hide. And how I got my comfort, Art, was through food. So I began to sneak food into my room. And at night, I always snuck ice cream in, and I can see the connection. I figured it out years later is because I was missing my daddy, and that was our routine. So I'd sneak down the bowl at night when my brother wasn't listening. I remember it like it was yesterday, putting the bowl under the bed till the morning I could sneak up and not I would be very careful as I walked up the stairs because I didn't want to wake my brother up, and I'd wash the bowl out. So that began a journey of hiding and a journey of being obsessed a little bit with food, and that food became my comfort. That's the beginning of my story.
The need to have closure in any given situation is sheer human nature. And when it comes to romantic relationships, this desire skyrockets. Has your previously failed relationship left you in immense pain? It's not uncommon for people to shy away from a new relationship after their first one fails miserably. The fear of the unknown makes them hide in a shell to prevent any future heartbreak. Relatable? Despite wanting to love and be loved, you can't take the plunge if your mind and heart are still locked somewhere in the past. Maybe you aren't aware of the power of releasing the past, or perhaps you don't know how to do it. Art Costello in his online course teaches the art of moving on from bad places to happier, more stable ones. This course can change your life for good, helping you beat all kinds of negativity on the road to eternal bliss. Sign up now before the gloominess gets the better of you at expectationacademy.com.
I'm thinking back and thinking in my own life, and we deal with things with maybe sometimes the easiest thing that there is to grab onto, and it is food. And I think it takes a lot of maturity to realize that. I mean, we do realize that when we get older, but when we're children and we're trying to hide that, I mean, I see this a lot with the kids that are abused different ways or have extreme loss and all that. So when we find that comfort in food, it often sticks with us for a lifetime until we can recognize it and change it. And sometimes even when we do recognize and change it, it is extremely difficult to change that behavior.
Right.
And I want to hear the rest of your story because I know it has I know that it has an ending that is very, very beautiful in a way, and a testament to who you are.
And the ending, actually, Art, is just the beginning of life opening up for me. So what ended up happening, I ended up reaching my highest of 275 pounds. And that's on a 5'1", small, petite frame. And I married my husband probably when I was about 15 or 20 pounds overweight. And I said to my husband, the first Christmas, I'm going to have all my weight off. So the first Christmas came, and I had found that I enjoyed cooking for him and he loved his desserts. And so he had a dessert every night. But consequently, that first Christmas, instead of having the 15 extra pounds on, I probably had 20 extra on. And so, as I said, I rose to my highest point in my life of 275. So I have a show called Never Too Late Ever. And I think I realized when I turned about 60, it was a sobering thought because I woke up crying on my birthday because I suddenly realized that if I lived to be 90, if I was even blessed to be 90, 2/3 of my life was over. 2/3. And all these promises and all these goals I had made throughout the years just left there. All those New Year's resolutions, all those Mondays. Okay, I'm going to do it Monday. Okay, I'm going to do it Tuesday. Okay, I'm going to start. Left there. They were just a heap of empty promises. And I realized I couldn't blame my brother. I couldn't blame the abandonment I felt from losing my dad, losing my younger brother. I couldn't blame anybody. You know what? I realized I had to take responsibility for me. And this is the truth out there. People that are listening, we will never, ever, ever get over some of our issues or things that we're trying to work through if we constantly blame other people. I finally looked in the mirror, and this is what I said to myself, Art, which was painful. I looked at myself because I had gone to the internet, and I've always thought I would ignore that I was overweight. I wouldn't look at mirrors. I would just ignore it, even though I was in a lot of photos and could see it. I looked up on the internet, and I looked it up, and I went, Lorraine, you are morbidly obese. I knew that before I went there. So I went home and I looked in the mirror and I said, Lorraine, you are morbidly obese. What are you going to do about it? Because all my life I blamed others, my past, my circumstances. I used to think, I'm the only one that cannot lose weight. I'm intended to be fat the rest of my life. I had lost weight, gained it back, lost weight, gained it back. But until I finally took responsibility for some of what was wrong on the inside, there was never lasting change on the outside. So I began to do work on the inside, like reading books. I went to a personal development class where they definitely go into your past and you learn how to forgive, which was a lot of hard work. And I began from the inside, taking responsibility, and I began to lose weight. That's permanently, that will never come on again. I know for 100% sure because I did the work on the inside, which needed doing.
That's tremendous. I mean, because when you look at our society and the obesity that's coming now, and one of the things I was wondering when I was hearing your story, we know what the cause of your morbid obesity was. The kids today coming up are dealing with it because I think more of the types of food that we're eating is causing morbid obesity. And I'm wondering if it's going to be harder for them to realize, how to get rid of that, or will they have the same, this is just me wondering, will they have to go through the same process that you went through to rid themselves of that? Do you know what I mean? Because we're so high in sugar intake and so high in carbohydrate intake and all that stuff right now through our diets.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think, though, that a person that is obsessed with food and uses it for comfort or numbing, that's what I used it. Okay, then I would numb my feelings with food. Then there's a problem. Then there's an issue. Some people that have 15, 20, 30 pounds to lose weight, they might be just eating the wrong foods. Mm-hmm. But when I was obsessed with numbing my feelings, then there was an issue from within, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah. And somebody that's morbidly obese, obviously, has something that they're numbing just in the same way an alcoholic might numb his feeling. Mm-hmm. I was numbing the feeling that I felt abandonment and numbing that I didn't feel worthy. I never felt worthy of losing weight. Now I know I am as worthy as anybody else on this earth. And if you're out there listening, you too are worthy. You are worthy of your health. We are all equal. We're all created equal, which is wonderful because I get to embrace health in the same way you do, Art, and in the same way anybody else does. And so I think that being morbidly obese is something that there's a root problem. And I had to get to the root problem, and that was that I didn't believe that I was worthy. I'll tell you an example because I had mentioned that I lost my little girl. And so I want your listeners to think about when you were a little girl or a little boy. There are sometimes things that happen to us that rob us of the little girl, and maybe it's a traumatic experience. Mine was the sudden deaths of losing two people close to me. So if you go back there, I go back and I see a happy little girl. I like to look at my photos, and I was just joyous. And suddenly my world crashed in, and I pulled in and I lost the little girl. Well, this is an example. I am now 65, and at 63, after I'd lost 120 pounds, and I have about 25 more to lose, which is still a struggle. And I had gone down to a retreat down in Southern California. And the night before, I had seen a trampoline. And I thought, oh my gosh, I am going to wake up really early in the morning and go jump on the trampoline. Because you see, if you are obese most of your life, you are not jumping on a trampoline. I've tried to rebound the little ones, but everything jiggles. So so you're not bouncing on trampolines. So I thought, I'm going to sneak out and try it and see if I can do it. Well, I snuck out early in the morning, and I had two of my early morning friends already there. And they asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm going to try jumping on the trampoline. Well, I got on, and I couldn't get my bounce because I wasn't used to it. So they jumped on the trampoline. They grabbed my hands, and we began to go higher and higher and higher. And I remember screaming higher and higher, like I was a little girl on the swing when my brothers used to swing me up and down. I'd go higher, higher. I went so high that all of a sudden I collapsed onto the trampoline pad and began crying. The most uncontrollable cries from the deepest part of my soul that I'd ever experienced, literally. And I realized in that moment, somewhere when I was jumping up there, it was as if I got my little girl back. She disappeared, but suddenly she was free. And it was an amazing experience.
It's a beautiful thing. Let me ask you this question. What other things did you do that you never thought you would ever do again? I have one in mind. Did you, when you put on new clothing, when you went out and had to buy a new wardrobe, did you find that rewarding? Did you find that?
Oh, there are listeners out there that may be overweight and they can relate to this. I would go in when I was overweight, and I'd go into the changing room, and I would just die because I bring things in, and nothing would look good. And if it looked good, it was a huge size for me. So I can go in there now, and I'm so excited. In fact, even on my Facebook page, one day I was getting my nails done, and I looked down, and I have what you call the gap between your legs. I'd never had a gap between. And I had to take a photo. I'm not sure what the nail. She was Korean and she didn't speak English. I was sure she was wondering why I kept taking photos of the gap, the leg gap, I call it. But there's little things like that. And then I hadn't tried water skiing for 40 years, and I tried this summer. I did not make it up. I have to develop my strength muscles. But I've been trying things like that because there's a newfound freedom in what you can do and the energy you feel. It is amazing. For anybody out there, it is well worth taking care of yourself. You have to literally take yourself on and go for it, but it's well worth it.
Has anyone ever inspired you to discover a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled you? It is a magical experience, isn't it? Inspiration is indeed very powerful, yet it's often undermined. It can lift you from the ground to the sky in no time. Have you ever thought about returning the favor by inspiring the people around you? If you don't think you have it in you, we have good news for you. Art Costello's online course has everything you need to learn to supercharge yourself and shape your character into a powerful personality. Get ready to discover your strengths and unleash the creativity within. Don't believe it? Check it out yourself by signing up for this life-changing course at expectationacademy.com. That's expectationacademy.com.
Do you know what I love about this is that at 60, you started learning how to live life and how to really enjoy it. And, a lot of people put things off, like losing weight or like getting rid of a deadbeat husband. I mean, there's tons of things that really affect people and how they live their life. And I just commend you on doing that. I'm 72.
You're amazing.
And I'm not sure that I could still water ski or that I would have even tried it at 65. But I probably would have, because I'm kind of a nutcase on this stuff. But, I'll try anything. But for a woman, particularly men, I think we are granted stronger muscles, all these different little things. But for a woman to be 65 and trying water skiing, I just love it, Lorraine. I think that everybody should do that. And it brings me to something that's really near and dear to my heart, is that so many people, when they retire at 65 or 60 or whenever they feel that they have the need to retire, they're put out to pasture. They feel that all they can do is sit at home and watch the TV or read a book or anything like that. They stopped living life. And, I had a young friend who was a bull rider in the community we are, and he was at the National Finals Rodeo in 1992 and lost his life. A bull stepped on his head. And one of the things that his mom said, and that always has resonated with me, that Brent died doing what he loved, and he wouldn't have wanted it any other way. He wouldn't want you to mourn for him and all that, because he lived his life doing what he wanted. He had a passion for bull riding. You have to have a passion for bull riding to do that. And because so many young men have become maimed and injured and lost their lives riding bulls, it's a dangerous, dangerous sport. But yet it says something about the character of the person that does it. They're willing to risk it all. People that walk high wires, people that do all these sports that are really challenging, they're living life. And so many people, when they become older, think that they're supposed to be put out to pasture. And that is the furthest thing from truth. We have so many talents that we could be doing and using and helping young people live the lives that they're intended to live. And you're a prime example of it, not only for women that are obese, but for young girls coming up and knowing that when you turn 60 and 65 years from now, ladies, you don't have to stop. There is no time like the present to start living. Because
absolutely. Yes.
If you live the next 10 years to the fullest, you will be so happy and it beams on your face. I wish people could see how you smile and really enjoy it.
Right. I'd like to say too that sometimes when about 50, we begin to feel invisible for some reason in our society. And then if you're overweight, you even become more invisible. And the thing is, we're not invisible. So we buy into that lie and we start shrinking. We need to do the other thing, because what has happened is we've had life's experiences. We have so much wisdom to give to the world. This is not the time to shrink at 50 or 60. This is the time to come out and impact the world, because the world needs us.
Yeah. And see, what the reason that you call this shrinkage at 50, if you'll look at all the advertisements on TV, or many of them, they're all geared to the young, slim people being active and everything. And there is no promotion for people. It's changing, I think. I think we're seeing a little bit more of it now with some of the advertising. But advertisers have their target market, and we're not it. And we're not it.
We got a lot to give the world and a lot to say. And so I'm not taking that on. I'm not taking that on because I have met so many wonderful people now that I've been getting my message out. And like I said, my show is called Never Too Late Ever. Well, in the last month or two, I've been adding it is never, ever too late until it is. So it's not too late now, today, to make a difference. But it may be too late because, as Art knows, only 10 days ago, I lost my beloved older sister suddenly again. And she went into the doctor on a Friday night, not feeling well. And by Sunday, she was gone with acute leukemia. She had had signs like a rash and feeling tired, but nothing out of the normal that we wouldn't think, well, just get more rest or, So I was reminded, because it was hard on me again, because I've had a lot of sudden deaths where everything's going good and then something rips it. In fact, when I was a child after my daddy died, I used to think that I can't be really happy because something's going to happen, because I was really happy with my daddy. So even when my husband, maybe somebody can relate to this, I don't know why I feel like sharing this, but when I first married my husband, if he was even 15 minutes late, I was sure something had happened. He had died. And I would try and guard myself from being too happy, because every time I got too happy, Raymond died, my daddy died, and I just felt somehow in my little kid's brain, it was related to, if I was happy, something bad was going to happen. So when Pauline died, it was heartbreaking. But somehow in this time in my life, I've been able to handle it much better, because I know, for one thing, that she is in a better place. I believe that I will see her again. And the two words that my mantra through the funeral were hope, because I hope and trust that she's in a different place. And the other one was trust. So if I trust in God, or some people say the universe, if I trust that things happen for a reason, who am I to say, no, you cannot go, to hang on to her? That would be selfish. So she is in a better place. She is free. And heartbreaking, because us three sisters were looking forward to riding into the sunset with many memories. But somehow through this, and I think it's because I've done the work on myself too, I realize that this is something happened. And I believe she's like a little wisdom angel on my shoulder saying, keep working, because she never, ever, ever stopped living her life. So
that's a great tribute. I write a lot about how do you expect the unexpected. Mine comes out of Vietnam, I think, when I was in Vietnam, and veterans have a lot of combat veterans have a lot of difficulty in understanding why, we have survivor's guilt. We come home, why we survived it and other guys didn't. Could never figure it out. And really, we're not supposed to. We're really not supposed to know. It just happens. And what I've learned from it is that we are supposed to honor all those who have preceded us in death by living our lives to the greatest extent that we can. And from the time when I come home, I was 18, going to turn 19 when I came home from Vietnam. I promised myself that I was always going to live life to the fullest and enjoy it, that I wasn't going to let everything became a learning experience. We're supposed to learn from all of these things. The death of my wife, to ovarian cancer in 2006 was a blow to me, like it knocked me off my feet.
Yeah.
But I learned that there was purpose in it. And, the gifts that she left me with, have led me to a better life. I'm now remarried and have a wonderful wife that is just a real blessing. And I believe that Vicky's hands were all over Beverly's and I meeting, and she had never been married. She was 53 years old when we met and was waiting for her Prince Charming. And luckily I can say I was it, and when you think about that, she is a very independent woman and didn't need a man to take care of her financially or anything like that. She's very educated and she's a nurse anesthetist, has a great job, didn't need me. It's really that she wanted me. Yeah. It's probably that one of the first times in my life where I felt wanted.
Aww.
Because when I was a kid, being abandoned and all that, I had those issues of abandonment, not feeling wanted. And, my parents were very, even though they didn't abandon us physically, they did in a way abandon us physically, but they didn't give us support.
And emotionally.
Yeah, emotionally we're abandoned. And I can remember having some of the same feelings you did, worrying about when my mom was going to come home because she would go out drinking and stuff like that and leave us alone and wake up the next morning and she wasn't there and just panicking going through you. But, all of it happened for a reason.
Right.
And it's led us to where we are today. Lorraine,
right.
You and I are where we are today because of everything that has happened to us. We haven't let it defeat us.
Right.
We didn't go into that rabbit hole and try to cover ourselves up. We've taken the challenge and we've overcome it. That's what is important.
Right. I think that in saying that, I did sometimes cover it. And that would be through the issues with the food. I tried to numb it. And once I dealt with it, I have been free as a bird in the sky. I can feel. And I think that in life, there's an expression when we go through these things, we can either become bitter or better. And I choose to be better. I choose not to be the victim. Because none of us we allow ourselves to be a victim, but we don't need to remain there. And so I think I did cover a lot of that up for many years, but there is no more covering up because we have got this day and we've got whatever God gives us to live and change people's life everywhere we go. If we treat people with this is the thing I said to some people the other day. This is the day we have. So why not treat people with love and kindness? We don't know when we go outside, go to a coffee shop. We don't know if that barista, that is her last day on earth. So let's treat each other with kindness, gentleness. Forget the anger that we're all caught up in and being snappy. All those are just little things that mean nothing. And it's about living and vibrantly making an impact on others that we meet.
When people focus on the little things and they get angry about them and they hang on to them, they're really hurting themselves more than they're hurting the people they think they're hurting.
Yes, absolutely.
And it stymies your growth. But more than that, it really steals your happiness. Your happiness goes away and you become that bitter person about things. And, I just want the audience to know that there is a thing called grieving. And there is a process of grieving, and you have to let yourself grieve and go through that process. But you have to also not dwell in it.
Right.
Because it will eat you up.
Right.
And we all grieve different lengths. I've heard of people within 6-7 months be able to go through the complete cycle of grieving. I've heard other people take 3 years like it did me. I've heard people say that statistically, it takes about 5 years to really go through the whole grieving process. So it's okay to grieve and do it in your own way.
Absolutely.
But it is, like anything else that we do emotionally, it is well worth it. The journey is well worth it.
Right.
To go through that process, because when you come out of it, you're going to be a better person. You're going to be stronger. You're going to be smarter. And it's going to teach you a lot of lessons.
Yeah, and I think grieving, you have to go through. If you hide it again, then you're hiding those feelings, like I was hiding and numbing. So you're trying to numb those feelings. I wept like a baby at my sister's funeral and graveside, and it felt good. It felt like I was being cleansed, and I will miss her the rest of my life. And so you have to acknowledge that you're sad. You have to acknowledge that it hurts, that it's painful, that you're going to miss that person. But it's picking yourself up and going, like Art says, there's a purpose for everything. And I believe there's a purpose. And has it made me stronger as a person today to want to impact the world? Absolutely. Because my sister, person after person, stood up and said how her wisdom, how her mentoring had helped them. And it made me realize that she gave everything for other people. So that's my example. But yes, you need time to grieve, and that is part of the whole process.
which direction you want your life to take? Are you sinking deep down into the pit of uncertainties day by day? So, what's the secret to leading a happy, satisfied life? It's taking matters into your own hands. But what if the matters in question are a total blur? Art Costello's Expectation Academy course aims to tell you exactly how you can get some clarity in your life. This course can be your savior on your journey to reinventing yourself. While you certainly can't plan your whole future ahead, you can definitely control twists and turns your life takes. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for this course now at expectationacademy.com. Get a chance to broaden your horizons and add meaning to your life. That's expectationacademy.com.
I think that that's a great tribute to your sister, because somebody that gives, a lot of times it's hard for them to accept back. Was she like that?
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd rather give than receive. See,
Yeah.
I'm a giver. I want to give.
Yeah, and that's how she was. Like, she loved people to come to her to ask if they asked her advice, because she's got a lot of wisdom. So she reveled in that. That was the thing. Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. So I think when you're that type of person, it's taken me quite a bit of time in my life to be able to receive things graciously, because I used to be pretty blunt about not wanting people to do things for me, but I've learned. And that's a part of the growth process.
Right.
So what's coming up for you? What's new on the horizon?
Well, what's new on the horizon is in the middle of a move back to Canada. I've been in the United States for about 41 years. We're up in Washington State, just over the border, and we're moving the area of Victoria. Have you been there, Victoria, Canada, on the island?
I haven't been on the island.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. And my husband's a yacht broker, so he's going to live just 90 seconds from where he's going to work. I'm in real estate, and I will continue a little bit, but I'm really expanding on my radio show and my speaking engagements.
Great.
So that's what I'm really excited about, is making an impact on this last 1/3 of my life, because I'm going to live to be over 90. I know it.
I always joke about living to 132.
Yeah. I think that too. I met so many vibrant people, older people, that it lights me on fire when I see them out there running or jogging or going 10 miles. I met a lady the other day. Actually, she's down to about 5 miles a day now. She only walks 5 miles, but she's 94.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm one of the guys that your husband dislikes.
Oh, why is that?
Just mention the word power boats. The yacht guys don't like us power boat guys. I've always loved big old power boats, but I had one in the past, but I don't have one now. So.
Yeah. We love it out on the water. It's just one thing that gives back to me. If I feel like, in fact, after my sister, sometimes I feel like I need something, to refill my cup, and it's nature. If I get out in nature, the ocean, that's what fills my cup back up so that I can give more.
Yeah, I'm a water person also. I love being on the water. I love, my dream someday is to have a house overlooking the Pacific Ocean somewhere. Yeah. Maybe it'll be in Victoria. Who knows, But, it's one of my dreams is have a house overlooking the Pacific. I find it so relaxing and so invigorating. And
right. Our condo over there, when you walk in, all you see is ocean. I'll have to send you a photo, Art. It's just, if you're ever up there, you got an invitation.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure I'll get there, because I just love it up there. I've been to Banff in British Columbia.
Oh, isn't Banff amazing? Oh,
yeah. It's great. I'm trying to think of who it is that lives up on the island up in Victoria. One of our friends that you and I know has a place up there. I'll have to, here goes 72 again. I can't remember.
If you think about it, you can message it to me. I'd love that.
Yeah, I will, so. Yeah. What words of wisdom do you want to leave our guests with?
The words of wisdom for your guests today. This is it. We are only promised today, and Death, unfortunately, is no respecter of persons. You could be 6 or you could be 90. When your time is up on this earth, because we all know that eventually what will happen to us. So take today and make today the most incredible day that you can for others by reaching out to other people, living today, being present with your family and friends instead of thinking about work or thinking of this. Be present with those that you love. And then my other best advice for those that maybe are morbidly obese and are stuck in that prison. I know what that prison is like. I know how dark those walls are. I want to let you know there is hope. The hope is you. You have to take responsibility for you, but can you do it? Yes, you can. Because for years and years, I looked at before and after pictures and said, I'll never be that. I'll never be that. But guess what? I'm a before and after picture, and you can be too. So I want to give you hope. Whoever's listening that has an issue, an obsession with food, there is hope. My hope, I needed accountability, so I joined Weight Watchers. I needed to be with other people that had the same problem. But there's hope for everyone. So 2 things. Live today like it may be your last or like it may be somebody else's last. Love on people. Be present. And then there's hope for those that need hope in conquering their weight problem. You guys can do it. If Lorraine can do it, anybody can do it.
That's right. Can you tell our guests where they can get a hold of you and how they can get a hold of you and give us all the pertinent information?
Yes. If you would like to get a hold of me, feel free to go to my website, which is Lorraine Hoving. Hoving is spelled H-O-V as in victory, ING.com. And here, if you want to sign up to my email list, I'll send you 10 tips for living an extraordinary life. Not just about weight loss, but living an extraordinary life, having a positive attitude. And then also you'll learn more about my Never Too Late Ever family and my radio show. And then if you would like to hire me for a speaking engagement or to talk to me about speaking at any of your events, I would be more than happy. And if you have just an email or a concern about being morbidly obese, feel free to get a hold of me because I can email you back and let you know some thoughts on all of that. But I'm here for you, and I've so enjoyed being with Art today.
Thank you, Lorraine. And folks, that's all the information is right there. And I'm going to encourage you to go and seek it because Lorraine can really help you achieve the goals that you want. And I'm honored to have you on the show.
Absolutely. I've loved it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do it again. Third time's a charm. So we'll do it again. With that being said, thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening in today. You know where you can get a hold of me, expectationtherapy.com, all the social media sites. And thank you again, Lorraine. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the show. Drop us your comments and questions with what you want answered on the show. You can subscribe on iTunes and Binge Network. You can also get more information on the website, expectationtherapy.com.